Yeah, I think it's one of those things, isn't it? He got thrust straight in onto that VP lineup, and everyone was like, wow, there's a lot of potential here, a lot of potential. Didn't really live up to that, but then that roster didn't quite work out. And he's perhaps one of these players that's been riding on that wave for quite some time. If anything, Dihar looked more impressive on the Sprout lineup, in all honesty. And kind of interesting to not really see him crop up in this whole roster shuffle, if I'm remembering correctly. But either way, we are in with an A execute. What else on the pistol? A little bit of spicy utility, to be fair. Quick little headshot, Furlan lucky to be alive. But, of course, we are in for that 5-on-5 retake.
And with this, it's Furlan and Snatch. You've got the utility, but Fiku's pushed in. Haji to fall. Fiku looking for more with two players around the corner. Could find them, but instead it's Sixer and Kios to make way in. And as they got too aggressive, AGO have been punished. Lambert, he's got himself the double flashes, wants to go forward, but hasn't actually had an opportunity or reason to use them yet. It's all going to be about Furlan as he's left alone. Snatch to fall, and Furlan in a 1 versus 4, trying to peek out, but Kios, that's the man who I've been looking forward to watching. He comes through with a 3K.
And this is exactly what we're expecting from this matchup, right? Super, super structured attack onto the A-bomb site using the utility. Great idea from AGO, but like I mentioned on the analyst segment, sometimes sticking to that super firm path, it can be very, very difficult, and they push themselves a bit too hard versus Ldlc just relying on the individuals, tapping heads, walking in, nothing too spicy from them in that sense. So really, really well played by the Frenchman and the one Belgian, of course.
Indeed.
But all the same, it's kind of, I think, how this one's going to go.
Well, the setup though, Maka comes in, tears them apart. Bomb plant or no, that force buy becomes absolutely useless when you go into a double off angle. Both of them rifles as well. Ldlc, one thing I will give them credit for, one thing they've always been very good about is Furlan peeks out with a good shot, is the fact that they've, generally speaking, been quite good at playing out economic situations correctly over the past couple of years. Like, that's one thing I'll give them a lot of credit for, and I think Existence and Alex being on their teams respectively is what really drove that. But you'll see them generally buying the rifles at the right time, not getting greedy at the right time, and sure, that can come back to bite you with the way CT side economy is, but it definitely works out for you pretty often as well.
Yeah, it's a nice boost early on. I really like that because obviously it's kind of a cheese angle, right? It's not going to work multiple times in a row. I think the next time they approach middle, they will be ready for it. That's a nice find from Fiku. At this point with the Deagles, do have to be careful. They're just looking to take a few rifles away initially, but they find another head. The round looks kind of doable, honestly.
Maka's going to end up having to back off from that mid-connector area because of that kill, and they've left Haji to defend solo. Can he get anything done with the AUG as they're pushing up towards him? Haji trapped into a corner, smokes himself off, waits for backup to come through, but it's all too far away. By the time Lambert comes in, it might be too late, but fortunately his Molotov is ready. He peeks out, sees a player, moves fast, moves back in, ducking and diving in the chaos. He's thriving, gets himself two, and they're making sure they don't lose too many to the pistols. As I say that, though, Fiku with the second.
Yeah, it looks like the cleanup crew is here, though. I do have a point to make, but I'll just hold it for a second. You never know. Snatchy on this headshot angle. He is getting encroached upon, though, and missing a few too many shots. He is dead to rights. Okay, there you go. Manages to take one down with him, though, and that bare minimum of 3 that we always talk about, not met by Ldlc, so it will be a costly round. But yeah, unfortunately for AGO, you know, it's kind of the benefit of being able to see everything, of course. I think the flash that they make over on B, it takes 3 people, right? Because 2 of them push, 1 throw the flash, just to see if there's anyone there. If they'd have sprinted for it on the A bomb site, I think they eliminate Haji, get a bomb plant, and maybe get in some decent post plants as well. But they kind of just held on a bit too long, and that allowed Ldlc to actually use that information that they gained on the B bomb site to rotate across. So a little unfortunate. Nice find from Rallen early on, though. And that's the AWP going down as well. Very, very confident play into our first gun round from Ldlc.
Very nice angle held from Rowland over there. Generally speaking, you do still see people playing behind that generator, orange tractor, whatever it is, but Rowland hold it because he's holding his angle, trying to get the spray, but backs off instead. Can't find the kill. But yeah, he has a little bit more of an off angle. You can see his shoulder slightly. You've also got the left eye advantage, so you can actually get yourself a nice wall bang like you just saw. I don't know if it would work against a rifle, but it definitely does end up helping versus an AWP, which is significantly slower, obviously. Ooh, Fiku missed a flash.
Bit awkward. Not what you like to see. Now just lining smokes up here on the A side of things. Very simple, very classic. Very Vertigo-esque, of course. Not an awful lot coming off the back of it, but they don't need to go fast. They've got that man advantage. Gives them the luxury of being able to take their time, work their way in, force angles off, etc., etc. And a nice, easy bomb plant with a man advantage still retained. Kios does get one on top of that smoke, but Hadji traded back. Lambert just flying in to find Furlan. It's a crazy kind of attempt here from the Frenchman. The tap onto the bomb as well, going to force a peek out. The smoke going into it as well. Great angle from Reitz. Backs off and finds the other. Oh my goodness. That is perfectly played by Reitz over on the alley. And of course, XCOM eventually going to clean things up and find that first rifle round.
Some great stuff coming through, but you have to come through and point out the fact that Sixer really botched up his utility over there.
Yeah.
He had a Molotov and a nade, and by the time it goes out, you have to weigh up the odds of you actually being able to get it onto the bomb planter in time, especially when half of the smoke duration has gone by and it's late in the round. You generally just want to see him using it right there and then. But Kios comes in, great kill, does not overcommit though, and that's the key point to note. Furlan, meanwhile, will be tagged up, but as he tries to spray back, he's down to 9 points of HP, and he's been forced off as well. That's a spray exchange inside of smoke you really weren't looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, and in a round like this as well, where they take a risk, and it pays off way, way bigger than they even know. Ldlc are in such a good spot to just snatch this round away when their bank especially really needs them to. Reitz has found some control towards middle. Kios has got to be careful walking into this angle. Does land the flick, left on 13 HP. Another unfortunate exchange, one that Reitz really should have been coming out on top of. Rowland maybe needs to buy some new headphones as he gets clapped in the side of the head. Furlan will find the first frag for the T side, but I think it is all but over at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, either some miscommunication going on or Rowland was trying to make a big play after his teammate goes down, because Rowland hesitates just a little bit before he's moving forward. And what that generally means is that the CT player and connector will start to rotate back, and you're trying to catch off rotations, bring it back to, maybe a 2 versus 2, maybe a 3 versus 2, something around that. But instead of actually looking for the rotating players, after hesitating and not trade fragging his teammate, Rowland instead just gets caught off. So probably a bit of both of miscommunication and a bit of a bad read coming through from him. But hey, these things happen. Unfortunately, they happen to him this time around. And Reitz has made sure that Lambert can't live too long. Gets the kill with the Tech 9 as he moves in completely blind. And now it's a 5v4. Is this about to be another force by victory?
It's getting kind of crazy at the moment. It is, of course, Vertigo and, of course, Premier. These kinds of things do tend to happen, but it's still recoverable. Still recoverable. It's all about how you move forwards here on the Ldlc side of things and what you opt to do to pull it back. Playing aggressive, trying to force the trade, perhaps not the way to do it. Oh, and well, actually, he was indeed trying to force the trade. Now leaves Maka and Sixer with it all to do. Just Maka does get that double spray down, but he takes an awful lot of damage for it. And of course, still a man advantage across to that T side of things. The bomb is dropped in no man's land, so a little awkward to get the recovery on, but as they start to push forwards, they'll find themselves a few rifles in places. Playing with fire here is Maka. Flash over the top. Not really forcing their way forwards just yet onto this A bomb site. Hesitation seems to be the name of the game. What is that? 180 from Kios, and he gets the final frag as well onto Rowland. Oh, what a clutch coming in from the big man.
I mean, it's a two-man battle plan right there. It's Maka coming in with the 2K baiting out Sixer very nicely. I say baiting not in a negative way, by the way. I think that's a great little bait and switch setup coming through. Sometimes you just got to use it. He does so beautifully. And then Kios, big man, with a new, with some more skin in the game, I'd say. He's got a little bit more to prove than Maka does and anyone else does on this team. He's definitely one of the bigger up-and-coming talents within the French-speaking scene. So he's definitely coming through with a bang in this lineup at the very least.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it as well. Absolutely. Bails them out in the context of that round. But yeah, very, very well recovered. And I think it's the way that Ldlc, again, like to play. It can be difficult. It can be kind of unreliable, but putting the individuals into stressful moments, expecting the best out of them. And it certainly was in that scenario. Very well played. What has happened here, though? A bit of miscommunication, I suppose. Maka, once again, is sneaking in from the side. This perhaps an unintentional bait. I am so blown away that Furlan gets away with that. The old classic shifting in. I mean, maybe it works in MM, but it shouldn't work at this level.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can't underestimate the power for good contact play after you've been training the CTs to expect utility, expect some sort of footsteps before the team is moving on. So you have to give them credit where it's due, but it's also due for that little shot that Reyes has found. Beautifully done. Immediately takes out Maka, and that's one of the big two threats taken away from the French side already. I have to say, I've been quite happy to see, though, the adjustment with Maka on the AWP. I think he's just such a talented player. Couldn't see it right there with a headshot, but hey, definitely showed himself up a few times over.
Yeah, I think it's something that they were trying to push him towards on the Heretic side of things as well. Had a decent run on the AWP, I want to say, towards the end of 2019. There was a lot of hope there, for his performance and whatnot. So it's good to see an environment where he's able to pull the AWP out where he likes, because you do have to bear in mind Sixer in the past has been an AWP player as well. For all his faults, I think Sixer is a very, very good kind of role player, as it were, So I think things are looking relatively good for the Ldlc lineup in terms of the approach, the mentality within the team. Obviously, the French scene infamous for having questionable ideas and questionable politics in places, especially in the past. So I feel this Ldlc lineup, it does have potential, but I don't know whether they're, in that same kind of page as a lot of the other teams where they're really, really putting solid work in. Maka, though, looking really, really solid in that moment, of course. Snatchy just getting completely caught off guard by 2 shots.
Yeah, Snatchy just wasn't checking for the angle, gets caught off right there. His feet are completely visible to Maka in that position, and Maka just takes the free one and follows it up with a second. And now, with a minute left in a 5 versus 4, you're suddenly faced again with the possibility of being digged down. Great timing on the flashbang on B site, though, forces them off immediately. Really wastes a lot more time. They'll have to use their utility at this point. And Kios moves past. He's found the kill as he shift walks forward again, catching them off with utility in their hands. Ldlc is finding every timing, and they are living in AGO's heads rent-free right now. Just keep shift walking. Just keep shift walking.
Certainly, there's something. I'll hold the point, because I think I don't want to miss more action. Furlan, I think, sealing the A bomb site off a little bit here. Nice smokes as well coming in. They're in a pretty decent position. The bomb plant going down, but Kios in around the smoke once again, getting the 180. Kios, the 3K out of nowhere. I'm just continually blown away by this guy.
4K in total as well, because he got the first one worth the B bomb site. So man's pretty good. I have to say, I'm really happy that Kios is doing well for entirely selfish reasons, because I've been asking for Kios to be put into a French team for a very long time, ever since I saw him on K23 lineup. This guy's a revelation. This guy's got so much game sense in particular situations where his raw aim can assist him in pulling off some crazy plays. He reminds me a little bit about the, little bit of a meta game that was developed during 2017 over in NA, where everyone wanted to push through smokes and everyone wanted to go for crazy plays. it's a slightly more polished version of that right now. And if you get that in an explosive young talent, there's nothing better than it.
Yeah, I think it was certainly a curious one to see that move across to K23. But maybe the time just not right, the space just not there in the French scene, and why hold yourself back, and obviously making a bit of a name for himself. There you go, Snatchy finally waking up on the AWP. Couple for him coming in. That being his 4th frag of the game, so certainly, a player that we've pointed out for being not necessarily poor, but disappointing, I suppose. Looks like it's pretty much said and done here, because there was 4 players in towards ramp early on from Ldlc. They lose the exchange in a big way. And our fastest round yet, it feels like, as XCOM Ego just have 1 more player left to deal with. It is Kios, though, the final boss.
And that's where you've got to hold on to see whether or not he can get something done. He's the first player, gets a good tag, but can't get the bag. Furlan gets away the safety. If that bomb had been dropped and they'd been forced to commit, maybe there was more to be done. But with this many flashbangs still available, I don't know if you necessarily want to go for this. And this is where I do also quickly want to point out, I love the play Maka tried to go for there. He gets a first kill, he's trying to go for more, and ATO deal with it correctly. They deal with it perfectly. They double peek him from scaffolding, and look, in that situation, it may look like a dumb thing to do that you're getting aggressive instead of trying to save. But you also have to realize that, CT loss bonus is non-existent. You're not going to have a buy in the next round. You're probably going to have to force anyway. And yes, forcing round and up is nice, but give yourself a chance to be the star player. And just seeing someone accept that responsibility on an AWP, that's very refreshing for me to see in Tier 2, where more often than not, I will see players try to fall off, die in the process of doing so, not give themselves a chance to make a big play, where, look, there's arguments for and against it, but the mentality's got to be there.
It's a tough scenario they now find themselves in as well, of course, on that CT side of things. Cash money always rough. That's a nice little nade lineup, and very, very well read, in fact, from the T side here. In terms of the fact that they're saving, perhaps pushing middle, and they are set to not lose a single player. There you go. Beautiful stuff.
Got a feel for Haji, though, right now, and his teammates are sitting on 15 kills and 12 kills on the new boys. Haji's just waving around, asking, trying to remind everyone that he's here too.
Hey, sometimes that's the way it be, man. You just gotta chill and get carried,
Zero Molotov on CT side could be troubling, though.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan. They're also kind of going aggressive here, I think. Deciding against it, but Maka once again, as he takes that fight, wins it out against Snatchy. Would be interested to see how the early fights are indeed going in that sense. And deep smoke coming in as well forces them forwards or backwards, and well, it's completely open now. They're happy to take these fights on the French side of things, looking very, very good indeed. Maka goes down through the smoke. That's a little unfortunate, but a great 2-man setup here. If he finds another frag, does Haji, I think this is so perfect. Check your angles. Oh, not going to do so. And Lambert, there you go. He strikes. Not quite as super effective as maybe I expected, but all the same, setting everybody else up. Just got to play chill. You don't need to take your one-on-one fight, Sixer. Just play it together. You should be okay. Tagged him up, I guess, is a bonus, but the 2v1 now required from Rallen.
You're not even on T side yet for Ldlc. I'm really liking this coordination they've got between them. And this is the one thing I'll always say about Ldlc teams. They have great comms in smaller situations where now you have to play off of each other. It's 2 players playing together. Maybe their comms generally do tend to sometimes unravel is in a different spot, but I'll hold the point because it's time for Rowland to try and hold this site in a 1 versus 2. They're peeking forward and Sixer snipes him without even picking up an AWP. Sixer, what a shot. The wide swing outwards, and Kios looks like he's just going to be moving back for the op himself. They'll have that saved into the next round. A very successful round for the CT side. No, Sixer can't get a weapon. No, he pushed the AK off the railings. That actually makes it a bit of a rough bite.
That's a little awkward. But it's all good. It happens, I suppose. Very rarely, but still. I don't know.
Sometimes you just shoot an AK off the building.
Yeah, every now and then. AGO, though, going for something a little bit different into this round, going fast. Look at that damage coming in from Maka as he finds one, collapse another, the nade to follow up. This is not AGO's remit. This is not usually what they go for, but creating a little bit of chaos, you never know, may well be successful. The only issue is the bomb was at the front, which means you are fully committed to this now. You've got to go for it. Great little flash, but no support for Furlan. Haji's able to readjust. They just don't do well when they play fast on this T side of things, and it's not worked. Kind of disastrous.
And on the AGO side, we've seen a couple of players come out with, individual plays with some good timings and being able to pull that off. Otherwise, I have to say Ldlc has, despite everything I said in the pre-show, they've looked like the far superior team so far. And Haji, now that he's getting some kills as well, now that he's getting a chance to shine from scaffolding, the kind of control they're exerting on ramp is ridiculous. Even with some failed flashes, Sixer ended up blinding Lambert earlier on, and Maka missed his flash from sandbags. It went just a little bit too short. Even despite that, Haji's able to recover that position from scaffolding, and that's gorgeous. That's just beautifully done. That's with a bad buy, by the way, without, full utility, full Molotovs and everything.
Yeah, certainly a weaker position that they find themselves in, but I think they're doing quite well playing loose and fast. Again, like I said in the pistol, this is the way that this matchup is going to go, and it's down to AGO to be adaptable and be prepared, I guess. That's kind of your two ways. You either, answer back and...
what?
Oh, my God. What the hell is that? That's sick.
Yeah, that's one of the nastiest shots I got. I mean, pure timing, beautiful flick. That's why you gotta love Counter-Strike. Or if you're on the terrorist side, that's why you gotta really hate Counter-Strike.
Well, yeah, indeed. Oh, that's so rough to be on the end of, especially 4 rounds down. Nothing you can really do about that. It's not like he's made a massive mistake, to be honest. But yeah, talking about that adaptability and being prepared, I don't think you can prepare for that, in all honesty. But yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. You either have to have like a really solid line of play that works very well, or you have to be able to bounce around and work effectively off of the Ldlc aggression, and their adeptitude to just go for it, in all honesty. And it's tough. It's really tough. Kiosk, he's going to get overlooked as well. No way, I don't believe it. That's a bit of a fluff spray on the second one, but all the same, doing his damage. Nice little play from Lambert to spot above the smoke. Snatchy's on 1 HP, and it's a 4-on-2 overall. Not really looking too good. Snatchy's got to be careful. That nade surely finishes him off. It does indeed. Drops the bomb as well for a second. All onto Reach to find 4 there. Heavily on top of each other. It could go disastrously wrong, but unfortunately they're very, very ready for him to be there. And the 9th round for Ldlc on their CT side. This is worrying stuff.
And right now, we're not seeing any sort of a default coming out from AGO where they're finding much success. They can't play slowly because the difference in ops is really showing itself. Snatchy is just not having a good game, and Maka is, on the other hand, looking ridiculously explosive. When you combine all of that together with the fact that now you're also not defaulting, so you're always committing to one spot, your opera can't get those kills, the other team's opera can, and Ldlc is getting solid reads, it's just a question of, okay, what do you really do?
Oh, Furlan going to get spotted. I was going to say that could be a small difference maker. Snatchy creeping in with the Glock. Maybe he could catch Maka. Yeah, indeed he does. Maka shoots a little early and was, of course, low HP. This gets slightly more interesting now. But walking straight into that other orb, unfortunately. Snatchy, it's the right idea. You've got to do something. But the advantage of the left eye peak and all that Rolling now. Ooh, in the 1-on-3. Again, going to get spotted. Sixer in a really good spot to deal with him as well. So a little dicey for just a second, but Ldlc recover it back nice and clean.
Kios has 18 kills and the half isn't over yet in regulation. Maka has 15. I take back a couple of the things I said. I said that, okay, I knew that Kios and Maka are going to be straight fire. Maybe the rest of the Ldlc team just needs to perform a role. They don't even need to necessarily even show up the same way. Because right now, these two players are enough to carry a truck of concrete if they need to. Rietz, though, now that he's moving up early on, he's found himself blocked off by a lot of utility. The T side can't really contest too heavily, and Sixer's also looking to rotate back. So now, as Maka's going to be put in the hot seat, he has to throw out the Molotov himself. Lambert, waiting behind the smoke, is trying to make a big play. But as the smoke fades, he gets one, looks for more. Can he back off? Yes, he can for now, but it's all about Maka trying to back him up. And Maka, well, will he be spotted out? No, he won't. Gets the first. They don't have a Molotov until a little bit too late. And by the time they peek out, Maka will be caught off by Snatchy.
Certainly doable here. XCOM need this one to soften the blow going into the second half, but a quick flank from Kios. Ooh. Still could be the difference maker because it is the bomb. Lambert needs to stay alive or win this fight, and unfortunately will not do so. Fiku ready for Kios as well. And that's a pretty key round from XCOM Ego being picked up.
And we're going to be back after a short break to see how the second half turns out.
Yeah. Nobody, none of my business. It ain't none of your business. Nobody, none of my business. It ain't none of your business. Okay, stuck on the same excuses. I think it's getting old. I ain't your therapist, I ain't your measure. Hey, oh, can't really tell you anything you don't already know. No one said it was easy. Don't even bother, cause I'm in this secure location. I turned off my phone and my patience. I wanna help you, but you ain't even trying. You made your own bed, now you gotta fucking lie. Ain't nobody, ain't nobody, ain't none of my business. Ain't none of my business. Nobody, nobody, none of my business. It ain't none of your Nobody, nobody sitting. Nobody, nobody sitting. None of my business. It ain't none of my business.
Introduce me, I'm the renegade. Ooh, every single night, I crave the taste. It's the adrenaline running through my gait. It gets me high, high, high. Got no time to waste. Ain't got time for small talk. I tell you the truth.
And we're back. We've got a little bit of a pause, but all that does is give us some time to figure out what in the world is going on with AGO right now and what they need to change. Because for me, I will say this, one place where I think, Snatchy's been sticking out a little bit, but on the CT side, a lot more chances for him to get involved. I'm not sure what Maka is going to be looking like moving into a different side. Kios as well. The second you switch sides, it can really be a trigger to drop form very quickly. So, Scriv, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I think to be fair, there's a lot of play where on that CT side, they have some strong individuals and they put up a brick wall. They fight fire with fire. And Ego, I think, pound for pound, are not quite as strong of a team. But when it comes to the structure, the game plan, etc., I think Ego will have a little bit more in that sense. And then also, for me, it was always their CT sides that looked a little bit stronger. Now, they have had a few new players, jump into the lineup and whatnot. But one would assume that same kind of structure is there. So we'll see moving into the second half if Ldlc can keep up that same amount of energy. There's an awful lot to live up to at this point. They've got a lot of utility coming into this pistol. P250 in play as well. So maybe they do have an idea, but I don't know. With all these smokes, they smoke off the close angle on the side. Still leaves most of it open for the CTs to pin down.
Well, Maka's lined up a flash and they're ready to go. Riyad's completely blinded up. So re-peeking into scaffolding is still something you can somewhat safely do with the USP. You're unlikely to get double dinked down unless you've got my luck in matchmaking. So, hey, he doesn't, fortunately. But yeah, AGO with the full 5 Kevlar will probably need to start getting a little bit more aggressive to get some information around here. But I'm generally very unsure about what the game plan is for them, as Riyadz has backed off from scaffolding, has been forced off. Snatchy's found a key kill, and with Sixer falling, they don't have that second prong to the pincer attack that they've been planning. And now that Lambert's smoke goes out, it's all about hitting those shots. Maka with the P250 will be playing the long range angle, trying to get the super box peak, but can't find it initially. He's just ducked away behind the smoke, getting damage through it.
Oh, and the fake plant as well. They just go charging through the smoke. It works initially, kind of in this exchange being brought back even. So that snatchy kill, all the more important for retaining the man advantage. Nice find by Rallen. He's left low, so does need to be a little careful, but 1v3 with no armor on Lambert, in theory, should be relatively doable here if they play things smart. There you go. Fiku going to take his head clean off. But yeah, certainly I think losing Sixer is the linchpin play there. It's a full belt of utility that goes down also. So yeah, very awkward.
Wait, Scrib Sixer 666 right now.
Oh my god,
666, and he's Sixer.
This is not good. Something is about to go down in this round.
I don't actually think I've ever seen that before, but now it's a fast play from the T side down towards mid into the connector, and as they get control, they're just keeping on going. They're going so quickly, but Riyadz catches them off in the back lines, and Nate as well. Not a single kill so far. And maybe they should have sold their soul to the devil, because, it didn't work out too well for them this round.
No, and unfortunately, he now goes 667. So there's no more spookiness here for Sixer. Yeah, unlucky. But I don't know. That's one of the more Hail Mary plays I think I've seen in a long time. Just sprinting in and hopefully they all miss their shots or whatever. I'm not quite sure what the logic is with that one, especially because they're
relying on them to go towards ramp heavily early on, expecting before spike.
Yeah, I suppose so. But it doesn't work out in Ldlc's favor, and AGO, I guess, going to now look to close this gap very quickly indeed. A lot of money being made for Snatchy as well, which is always nice on the AWPer. Just need to be a bit careful not to go down needlessly, but the MP9's already paid for itself. One more would have been nice. Not going to be the case. He gets the information in on the remaining 2 players, so it should be all but over at this point.
And not really much that Sixer can do. If he finds a kill, obviously quite nice, but Nade comes in. I think he just gets killed in one shot pretty much to the chest, even from the M4 on 33 HP without Kevlar. I'd like to say that, but then I'd be pretending to know about very specific. Hey, I was right. Nice. I'm surprised. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty bad with like those small numeric mechanics. But now we do see the AWP coming out from Snatchy, and this is a big question mark for me. Can he perform on the CT side? Because on T side, I'll always give an AWPer the benefit of the doubt to some extent. On CT side, he's had a couple of good kills, but pistol round, anti-eco round, all that is good and all, but you need to show up when Maka's got an AWP, when you've got an AWP, when Maka dominated that hard in the first half. Oh, no. Starts off pretty poorly.
Yeah. I don't know, man. He's had a really rough time, has Snatchy, in this matchup, and this is somehow, sometimes, sorry, how it can go. I think he's either towards the top end of the scoreboard, first or second, or he's just not really present in the game. And that inconsistency has been something that's plagued him for a while, in all honesty. Viku finding Kioz is a nice trade back, but quickly dealt with by Lambert. The B bomb side now actually fully vulnerable. They don't quite realize it, but there's no one here just yet. A quick rotation through from Rallen will provide some cover, but it is weak at best. If they do decide to go towards B, it may well be doable for Ldlc. However, they're really biding their time, and now the CTs are starting to move in, but 6 are on that middle area, holding things down. Flash over the top, Rallen not able to do an awful lot. Nice nade and a molly to follow up a kill alongside it as well. This gets a little more interesting. Random shot through the smoke, brings it down to a 2-on-2. Suddenly looks very doable, and the bomb is in a terrible spot. That's unfortunate. Maka on the AWP, though, looking solid, not really missing. Flash doesn't blind anyone at all onto Furlan. Oh, and Maka's just way faster to the mark. That's kind of how it feels right now for the AWP of that Ldlc side.
I love the confidence for Maka on that last kill to back off and not hold an angle, because he's expecting the CT player to feel the pressure to get aggressive, and he's also waiting for his teammate to come over at the same time. Rallen has a fantastic effort with those 2 kills, but at the same time, you have to give hats off to Maka. That was just absolutely gorgeous.
He's playing pretty immaculate Counter-Strike right now, it feels like.
Immaculate.
Whee! That wasn't my intention, but of course, you funnier than I. Always seeing the comedy and everything, sir.
Hopefully, we're not going to be seeing any comedy from the CT side, though. Hopefully, we're going to be seeing some stern stuff. Coming up and making sure they can take a man down, but unfortunately, it's Snatch's demise, and it's Haji to hand it to them with a second as well. 3 kills in total, and AGO have got to save, but can they save? I'm not entirely sure about where they go from here.
It was a little funny. Lambert trying to plant by the crane, it looked like. Got stuck on the wall, but all good. Getting rid of the AWP as well. Yeah, this is not going so hot, to be honest. Once the rifles have come into play, Ldlc have looked dominant. And I think AGO have a right to be worried here. Their map pick, their, I would say, best map. Obviously, the stats at the moment are a little skewed. New lineup, everything gets changed and whatnot. But in the past, it's one that they've put a lot of focus on. And I think they were, you know, in the mindset when this came into the pool, rather than, okay, let's permaban it, guys, and just pretend it doesn't exist. They were open to playing it and made it a part of their repertoire quite early on. But stats are not everything. It all depends on what team comes to play on the day. They don't have an awful lot of head-to-heads against each other. Maybe that's something that is playing a part here. And obviously, if anything, actually, they have no head-to-heads. Just double-checked my facts. They have no head-to-heads at all. So maybe that's a part of what is playing a factor. I don't know. Ldlc are just on another level. Not just 1 or 2 players, but like, feels like most of the team. 6 is a little quiet, but pretty much everybody's in there on that French side.
I've actually been more impressed than anyone else in the past few rounds by Haji. Just the fact that he's gone from being 0-5 to now being 13-14. But all that thought because there's some kills being exchanged. Snatchy gets 2, and that's nice. That's something he can write home to his mum about. But beyond that, you know, writing home to mum doesn't give you any rounds, Snatchy, unfortunately. And right now, you've just got Rallen to deal with. And a 1 versus 3, slightly doable situation. Og at the ready as he creeps by. Haji will see him. Haji will get that kill. What a nasty drive-by. But yeah, 13th round for Ldlc. Money still not really rocking for AGO.
Yes, the unlucky 13 for AGO, I think, especially. This is not looking good at all. And not how I expected things to go. T-side, I feel certainly can be a bit rough for them, right? As I've talked about, very structured, find it hard to adapt. Ldlc are a chaotic team, and I think we're happy to take those fights. But I felt with the shift onto the CT side, usually a little bit more stability and solid structure. You know, you can just kind of go, okay, that setup didn't work. Let's do this one. That one didn't work. Let's do this one. You know, it doesn't require as much mid-rounding, as it were. But it's really not worked out. It's really not gone that way. They just cannot match up, and they cannot find a way in the door on this CT side, you know? The only rounds they picked up, like I've mentioned, off the back of the pistol. So it's really dire at the moment, the way things have been going. Hadji just needs to be careful, though. There's a player up to his right. Oh, timing going to be everything. He's snuck under, though. What a ninja. That is beautiful stuff. Ferlin does trade him back, but of course, pressure being created over on that A-bomb site forces them forwards. At B, doesn't go successfully. I suppose there's a trade-off of information, but all the same, it's a solid man advantage right now. Snatchy finding one, needs to get more than this, but the gap is closing. Great flick onto Lambert landed. Looking for more. Does have support now as well. Smoke coming in also. 3-on-2. This is the best chance that AGO have had for a while. Snatchy finds another. It's all down to Maka to clutch up versus 3, and little does he know, Berlin's behind him, numbering his days and taking him down.
And a very important round for them to get over here for AGO. If they had lost this, you're looking at a almost guaranteed 15 rounds for Ldlc. Fortunately for them, it does end up working out. But at the same time, I was just trying to remember, and I just checked this again, just to remind everyone, this is AGO's map pick. So you're not going into the series with much confidence, and now would be the time to try and regain it. Now is the time when you need, you know, some big individual plays, some good rounds where you're coming out solidly. Even if you don't win the map, at least give yourself a chance later on, morale-wise. But gonna hold that thought because a flashbang goes out. Nicely placed from Fico. I actually quite like that one. But the big question is, what is in the minds of the terrorists? They don't have much firepower, Scrib, and this is where they prioritize some faster plays, and that's exactly what they're going for again. But Fiku's cut off one, but not the second. Haji trades, Sixer follows, and Haji with a flashbang will allow Sixer in. The op is caught, and Snatchy will fall. His impact over here with the big green gun has been, unfortunately, a little bit small.
Yeah, that relentless aggression coming in from Ldlc, just not ready for it on the AGO side of things. I think, honestly, it's fairly transparent that the T side would go for that. It's definitely in their wheelhouse. Puts them in a harsh position if they lose this as well. I was kind of getting ready in the back of my mind for being right. This is where Ldlc can falter, is by making the game a bit hard for themselves in places. These wild buys, you know, maybe one eco and then just drop across if you need to. But they decide to go for it. It works out. AGO not necessarily caught completely off guard, but their B holds certainly needed to be tighter and more successful, at the very least, trading things up. Snatchy, unfortunately, just swinging in, getting caught in the chaos. Again, that's what Ldlc likes to do. Create the chaos, and AGO are just playing their game a bit too much rather than trying to force their own game plan into action.
And at the same time, look, I've also got to point out that now you've got Hanji on almost 18 kills. From the very beginning of this game, I knew that Maka and Kios would show up. I've always been wondering who's the third player going to be. And if Haji is able to perform like this, that's exactly what you need from a third player. You know, he's getting the good refrags. He's not necessarily looking like a star aimer with great flicks or, you know, insane big plays just based off of his mechanics, but he's able to come in, jiggle the right angles. He knows when to, you know, rush in a little bit quicker. He knows his botting very effectively, and he will hit the shot that's put in front of him in the past few rounds. And if you have that as a third player, and then you've got Kios and Maka, that's a pretty hellishly strong lineup that you've already got playing for yourself. And I've been very impressed by him in particular.
This is good signs. This is good signs for sure, right? They've had a rough start to the season. Like you mentioned, though, those matchups that they had, certainly hard early on, perhaps pulling off, I wouldn't call it a massive upset here, but if they're able to take this map, and they look pretty damn good going into Nuke. But we'll see, it's not quite over just yet. Rallen standing strong at the back of the B-bomb site, looking for more. What is going on? Maka's just tried to ignore him, pretend he's not there. And he comes away with 4 in total. Now it's all left onto Lambert, who indeed in all this madness has found 2 towards middle. Whether he finds the round itself is another question, however.
With the bomb not in his possession, it becomes all the more hard, and Snatchy will be able to take him down with an AK. Rollin with 4 kills that round, just playing the default plan, beautifully done, and circumnavigates him entirely. It really looked like some of the comms fell apart for LDLC. What I was praising so much about their close range communication, it just looked like it wasn't there. And not really stopping to check the angles, just having a set goal from the very beginning of the round and not being able to deviate from it when their expectations aren't met. That's definitely a sign of still, growing pains within the team. Oh, Perlin though, ooh, big push.
So awkward inside the smoke. Over towards middle as well, going to get dropped. I feel like AGO in the past couple of rounds have maybe hit that groove that we were looking for, that adaptation that we were looking for. Rarlan catches the boost, and obviously knows that Kios is around, going to take him down as well. The Danger Man I had mentioned, and he is looking relatively decent. Come back online the past couple rounds, up to 22 frags now. And Snatchy, for all his faults, actually does have 20 kills. It just feels a bit weird.
I will
that
say,
they don't
I don't
come
think
off of the
he's
AWP.
had more than 3 with the AWP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem is you're still consistently buying a very expensive weapon on CT side. So
yeah, it's a strange one because he has 20 kills. It doesn't feel like he's had that much impact.
there were a lot of...
He has had impact, but
yeah.
As much as 20 kills would note. But look, it comes down to the recent rounds looking very, very good. They've broken the bank. LDLC taking a moment to just gather their bearings, and another moment alongside that here with the half buy. Well, half buy for Hadji, nothing for anybody else. So it looks like AGO kind of closing the gap, and LDLC, I believe it was mentioned, the game that they played literally just before this one, Pilsky was saying they kind of made it hard for themselves, and maybe that's going to be the case moving into this matchup as well if they're not careful. 1 frag for Hadji. That looks to be all, though, provided the CT side don't make any blunders.
Yeah, 4 players kept alive. Very impressive, very important. Furlan, again, just dominating ramp control. This time he gets himself a one-way smoke going. He's changing things up every single round, especially when he knows that there's going to be, a lower buy against him, so there's less of an opportunity to just be double-naded or have an double scoping into you to take you down. So good adjustments coming out from him in particular, and you love to see it. But now it's time for the good old-fashioned LDLC. Let's rush down mid and take control. And this time, it might actually end up working for them. It's Kios to take the charge. Goes forward with the Tech 9. Around the corner, he's found one, but needs to reload. And as he tries to turn the generator, he's caught off in between a rock and a hard place, leaving just Maka as his teammates have fallen to try and pick it up. And with the missed shot, they just can't find it. They find the map control. They find the space, but they just can't connect with shots quickly enough before being cut off by the A-side rotators.
Do just want to correct myself. It was actually AGO, of course, playing that matchup before this one, making things difficult for themselves, which resonates even more here, as, of course, they are now starting to run things back very quickly. It's come within 1 round. LDLC have got to answer back, and fast, because it is starting to escape them. They're Econ not in a fantastic spot. I suppose they're getting the lost bonus stacked up, but that's not what they want. Hadzi, though, making a play of his own, forcing ramp open, getting that first frag for free pretty much. Does depend on what he does further down the line. He's going to keep on going. Finds the head of Snatchy just as the smoke dissipates. The timing is perfect, and that is exactly what LDLC needed.
And that's just a full read coming up. And Riaz, he's looking for a kill onto Lambert. Lambert, though, jumps up and cuts him off immediately. This round is so well read by LDLC. They're expecting the aggression to come from Furlan. They're expecting the late second player in ramp because they know that there has to be players backing up Furlan. They know there have to be players flashing for Furlan, using utility for him to actually be able to get in. And that is just incredibly important. Just the call from Lambert coming through at such a key clutch moment dismantles the AGO defense entirely. Very nicely done.
And this is the thing, man. If you can't keep up with that energy and with that pacing, LDLC will roll you over.
Oh!
I like the idea from Rollin, you know. Maybe if he'd have, I guess you don't have as much time, but if he'd have gone for a tap, taken that player down at Ali, that actually could have been disastrous, to be fair. Only leaving one player to watch the bomb. When it's a 5-on-1, you might as well commit a couple. But all good. No harm, no foul. LDLC will hit their map point on, of course, their opponent's map pick. Again, to resonate, to keep that rolling. They're not necessarily a bad team on this map, but it is AGO's pick and AGO's home map as well. So this is a relatively big upset if they're able to take this map in isolation. I think the series overall, certainly Dust 2 would have left it up in the air. But taking this map really... Oh no. I was going to say hammers it home and, well, put salt in the wound for AGO in the series. And then Hadji goes and does that. The T-side monster following the Tracers through the smoke instantly.
Man. Haji he's a machine right now. And look, Maka, Kios, they're not having the same impact that they had in the first half. You know, they both ended on about 18 kills or so apiece. They've really quieted down. They're just non-existent on T's side. That's where Haji's coming in and kicking in people's teeth. That's not an aid that works, Kios. All right, but hey, now got to keep an eye out over towards ramp. As they are going for control, but Rietz is already here. He dodges the flash. He heard it toss, and now he's gone back to scaffolding with the smoke to cover his trails. He'll be safe, and it's a 4 versus 4 with 35 seconds and plenty of time on that smoke as it drops back 3-4v3. Fiku on the B-bomb side. Caught off, brought down. Sixer to be the one to find the kill. And now Rowland still fighting. Trades it back. It's a 2 versus 3. Can the T's make it on?
Certainly doable, man. There's some low HPs in places as well. Reitz, his position is going to be absolutely pivotal. Loses that fight to Lambert. This is now looking problematic. Maka, meanwhile, going to get the bomb down over on A. They are absolutely miles away. Nice bit of utility usage from Lambert to soften them up even further. No kit available. No utility at all. There you go. Spoke too soon. As Rylan will find himself a kit and a nade to try and pick up the pieces here. I believe... moving in towards the bomb site. Maka, though, going to find Snatchy. They're playing this so well on top of each other. Lambert, meanwhile, baiting his teammate out. Going to lose the fight. But surely this is doable. No smoke onto the bomb. Maka moves around it, and he will indeed find the final frag. What a finish from LDLC. Certainly having to work for it, certainly making it difficult, but they get it done nonetheless.
I mean, with that, we've got to see whether AGO can bring it back on the second map. We'll be back in just a bit.
We were caught in the fire. Our faith was left out in the open. Saw the fear in your eyes as we move through the dust. Nights turn into days, one by another. Under darkened skies, we await, bound to each other. But our spirits never die. Fighting as we push through the darkest times. I'll be there by your side. We arise when everything's breaking. Our souls will awaken. Our spirits never die. At the end of the line, the trust
Welcome back to ESEA Premier Season 36. We're in the European portion of the broadcast today. One map deep between AGO and Ldlc, and it was quite a long map. I'm sure AGO are feeling pretty cooked at this point. They've just made their way through a whole best-of-3 series against a Kazakhstani team, and now they do find themselves down at 0-1 on their map pick. And I felt like tea time, AGO, you know, watching them play, they're kind of just going through the motions, man. It's like watching a practice or something like that, where you're telling all the boys, you know, don't worry about going for plays so much. Don't worry about, you know, trying to play your absolute best game right now. Just kind of get through it and try to trust the system and rely on the fundamentals there. But it wasn't enough. What do you put that down to? They've lost Vertigo now. Do you think it's just a case of fatigue there, or is there a little bit more at play in your mind?
Look, I mean, I don't think it's any surprise that in the half where Maka and Kios weren't able to really get that much done, that's where Snatchy is actually coming a little bit more alive. But even then, we still don't see that many op kills. All I can say is, Philly, sure, fundamentals are all well and great, but the fundamentals of CS have an ops in them. And unfortunately, I can't really say the same for AGO. That was one big concern I had going into the game as well. And I think that it just shows us right there. Snatchy barely had any op kills. Most of his kills came from, you know, MP9s on a Glocks, from AKs, you know, a couple exit franks there as well. He hit the numbers, but it didn't seem like he was hitting the shots.
Yeah, just maybe a lack of impact there, unfortunately. Even so, though, AGO still getting reasonably close, even though I didn't really feel like they were playing that well, Scriv. You were saying Ldlc, you thought they had to get it done in 2 maps, or could get it done in 2 maps, and now they've taken Vertigo here. You feeling pretty comfortable now that they're going into their own map pick there on Nuke?
Yeah, I mean, in the prediction game, it does feel pretty good, because this is a map that AGO don't really play, and I think certainly it's something to consider. You talk about the fatigue and the other games they've been playing, and then they come into this one and they're just not matching that energy. I think this is the way that Ldlc like to take down their opponents is just by being quicker to the mark, so fast, so aggressive, and if you're not able to live up to that, it can be very, very difficult to adapt to and to change to, and certainly in that first half, that's what we saw from AGO. So I feel, again, on Nuke, if they can't adapt to that, and one would think because they don't really play it an awful lot, that's probably going to be the case, then we might just see a similar kind of showing.
Yeah, I think it's something that's a bit underrated. You know, you talk a lot about vetoes and things like that on analysis desks, but energy and form a lot of the time, particularly in these online games and long round robin seasons, have a lot more to do with results a lot of the time, you know, unless you're going into those pressure playoff games. But even there, you know, you can get really tired in some of these series. Either way, though, it's going to be into the 5th map, at least in officials, maybe even Prac on top of that. For AGO here, they're going to have to find a way to recover after being down 0-1 on their map pick. Let's see if they can do it after this short break.